Good morning, or afternoon, or night if you're doing this at night, no judgment. So, today we're looking at extension lesson 2 4, and this is talking about exponents being raised to other exponents. So, exponents raised to exponents looks something along the lines of, you're going to have x to some power a raised to another power b. Like always, the key things are going to be paying attention to the parentheses. So, actually, we're going to move that over a little bit. Watch for your groupings to see who's included in the base and who's not. So if you have an exponent being raised to another exponent, like we have here, we have x to the a being raised to another power of b, that actually turns into x to the a times b. So 3 different rules that we're looking at here. We've got a multiplication rule, a division rule from the previous lesson, and now we have an exponents raised to more exponents rule. So again, just like always, just like last lesson, when in doubt, you're going to expand it out. And I really, really, really strongly suggest that you do the expanding out this time now, because this stuff isn't going to go away. You're going to do this as a 9th grader, and it gets more complicated. And the more you understand it now, the better you'll be off in your future days. All right, so let's take a look at example number 1 here. So looking at example number 1, I have y to the 4th being raised to the 3rd power. So if I were going to expand that, this is my base here. If I were going to expand that, I would be multiplying y to the 4th 3 times. So let's see what that looks like. Y to the 4th times y to the 4th times y to the 4th. Okay? And now we know from previous lessons that if I have y to the 4th times y to the 4th times y to the 4th, if I were to even take that a step further and expand each one of those, 4 y's being multiplied, 4 more y's being multiplied, 4 more y's being multiplied, bringing that back together would bring me a y to the 12th power. Using that little shortcut rule, if I did y to the 4th times 3 to the 4 times 3, that gives me that power of 12. So just make sure you're understanding. Example number 2. Here we have a negative 2x to the 4th power. You can tell that that entire piece is the base because of these parentheses. That whole piece is being multiplied by itself 3 times. And this is where it's going to be extremely helpful to expand it out, because that first example, super basic, but it doesn't stay that way. It gets way more complicated. So I've got that negative 2x to the 4th times negative 2x to the 4th times negative 2x to the 4th. Okay, so already here we're getting more complicated because we have more pieces going on. So again, just like we talked about last lesson, I'm going to group those pieces that have common bases together. I'm going to do that negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Because again, multiplication is the operation going on between all of these pieces here. So I'm allowed to use that commutative property and move things around. So negative 2 times negative 2 gives me a positive 4 times negative 2 more is going to give me a negative 8. I guess I could write that right underneath it. Okay, so now going back to look at my x's. I've got x to the 4th times an x to the 4th times an x to the 4th. Condense that back together, that would turn into an x to the 12th. So, final answer is negative 8x to the 12th. Really helpful to expand it out. Okay, example number 3. Okay, here we have not only powers raised to powers or exponents raised to exponents, but then we also have multiplication going on. So this is going to be a little bit more in depth here. So that first piece, I have that base of b to the fifth being multiplied 3 times. B to the fifth times b to the fifth times b to the fifth times b squared raised to the fourth power. So b squared 4 times. Okay, put them all together. B to the fifth times b to the fifth times another b to the fifth is going to condense down to b to the 5, 10, 15 times b squared times b squared times b squared times b squared is 2, 4, 6, b to the eighth. And then one more time, b to the 15th times b to the 8th, because again, we still have those same bases, is going to turn into b to the 15 plus 8 is 5, 6, 7, 8, 23. B to the 23. And again, same way if you're using that little shortcut rule, the 5 times the 3 gets you that 15, that 4 times the 2 gets you the 8. The only problem with the shortcut rule is that they leave room for mistakes. It's very easy to confuse them and make mistakes. When you're expanding it out, you're very, very, very unlikely to make mistakes.